Hello there. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in Bellingham. My name is Andrea. And before we go to our wonderful musical artist, I'd like to offer a gratitude. This is a blessing from John O'Donohue. All that is eternal in me welcomes the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to arise and illuminate. I place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of breath, the tent of thought where I shelter, and all beauty drawn in the eye. May my mind come alive this day to the invisible geography that invites me to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and changed. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for and waste my heart on fear no more. In gratitude for the poets today, I'm going to take you over to a poet and a musician. Her name is Lisa Ferraro, and she joins us today to offer her beautiful music to us.
Thank you, Dr. Andrea. What a fantastic introduction today. And reminding us that we are the light of the world. This is a new song you might not know. It's just, we are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. And when you catch on, just sing it out. Here you go. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. Again, we are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. Again, we are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. I trust in me, I trust in you to shine. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. I trust in me, I trust in you to shine. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. And I ask, what do lights do? They shine. Shine.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Wood. I welcome you and I invite you to join me in prayer. Join me in knowing there is one love, one life that lives in and through all beings everywhere. This one is divine, essential goodness. This goodness brings us together today in community. It is the love that knows all things. As we come together this morning to celebrate that circle that includes all beings, no one is ever excluded. In the heart of love, in the heart of peace, and in the heart of joy. I am so thankful that I remember the truth about the nature of reality. I release my word to spirit, thankful it is done, and so it is.
So it is. Sit with your friends, don't go back to sleep. Night travelers are full of light, blessed by the company they keep. Be watchful when the moon is full. The moon appears for travelers at night. This yearning's our way. Night searches for our sighs. Spirit can without delay save us from the whirlpool of time. Be a wakeful candle in a golden dish. Weep as you melt, offering your light. Sit with your friends, don't go back to sleep. This yearning's our way, don't go back to sleep. Weep as you melt, don't go back to sleep. Don't sink like a fish to the bottom of the sea. Surge like an ocean, don't go back to sleep. Don't go back, don't go back, don't go back. This yearning's our way, don't go back to sleep. This yearning's our way, don't go back to sleep. It was a song inspired by the poetry of Rumi. And I love that we're doing the poetry theme today and the interconnectedness, the relatedness, and sitting with our friends and staying awake. They say with all of Rumi's quatrains, if you could distill it into 2 words, all of the many thousands of things he's written, it would be wake up. And then stay woke, I suppose, would come next after we're wakened. And so I chose two songs inspired by the poetry of Rumi to share with you today. And this one is called If All the World. And I thought it would fit the theme as well, because the Sufis believe in all of these many worlds. And the one that goes on and on is the world of lovers. And these are songs inspired by the poetry of Rumi that my late wife Erika and I wrote together. And it's a song called If All the World. If all the world is full of thorns, the lover's heart would be a bed of roses. Even if the sphere of stars stops turning, the world of lovers keeps going on. Everybody gets sad sometime, but the lover's soul keeps a tender smile. Give the lover an unlit candle, she'll awaken it with her own light. If all the world is full of thorns, the lover's heart would be a bed of roses. Even if the sphere of stars stops turning, the world of lovers keeps going on.
Thank you, Lisa. Gosh, we're on the same wavelength today. I've brought way too much poetry for you. And I'll tell you why. The theme for today that Lisa was referring to is the practice of relatedness. And this title comes from a quote by Parker J. Palmer in his writings on the hidden wholeness. And this is the quote that I used to determine this talk. Prayer is the practice of relatedness, our capacity to enter into that vast community of life in which self and other, human and non-human, visible and invisible, are intimately intertwined. In prayer, I no longer set myself apart. I take my place in community by knowing the transcendent center that connects us all. So the reason I've brought all my favorite poets, they're all over here, is because for me, to talk about prayer is like the most wonderful thing in the world to be able to speak to you about. And yet I'm aware that prayer carries with it, for some people, maybe not you, I hope not you, the energy of not working. That for a lot of us, when we were raised, we were told to do rote prayer, the Lord's Prayer or the Apostles' Creed or something along that line. And, as we learned those things, very few of us really were awake in them and feeling where they were pointing, because we were taught to do them as a memorization trick for various reasons. And so for a lot of us, prayer never came alive. And for me, prayer is a lively energy that I participate in every day of my life now. And I wanted to invite you into it. And the reason I brought on my poets is because they point to the place where prayer is alive. And so I'm just going to read you a few parts of poems to give you a sense of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start with our local poet. He lives on one of the islands here in Washington State, David White, who was born in England, had an Irish mother and an English father, and is quite famous for his poetry. I hope you've heard of him. I'm going to read you a portion of his poem called The True Love. Years ago in the Hebrides, I remember an old man who walked every morning on the gray stones to the shore of baying seals, who would press his hat to his chest in the blustering salt wind and say his prayer to the turbulent Jesus hidden in the water. And I think of the story of the storm and everyone waking and seeing the distant yet familiar figure far across the water calling to them, and how we are all waiting for that call. Part of true love. And then someone you're super familiar with if you've been listening to me for a while, Mary Oliver. And this is part of a poem she wrote called The Summer Day, and it's one of her most famous poems. The whole poem is beautiful, but here's part of it. I don't exactly know what prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? And then an ancient poet, a mystic through and through, I'm only going to give you part of his writings. This is St. Francis in the Canticle of the Sun. So remember, of course, Catholic. Be praised, my Lord, through all your creatures, especially my Lord, brother sun, who brings the day, beautiful and radiant in all his splendor. Be praised, my Lord, through sister moon and the stars, precious and beautiful. Be praised, my Lord, for brothers wind and air, sister water, brother fire, sister mother earth, who feeds and rules us all. The shortened version of Canticle of the Sun. So all of these poets are pointing to something. They're pointing to the relatedness that we have, not just with the natural world, but with something interior that is present in all sacred humans that needs to be expressed in order to feel the relatedness, to wake up to the relatedness that we are. Not just that we have, but that we are. We're in a web of relationship with everything. And yet, like Lisa's song indicated, a lot of times we go back to sleep about our relatedness with things. And the crucible of prayer has to do with being awakened. And so I brought you one more, it's not really, it's a story really, and I have another one too that we may get to. Let's see. This is from a very famous book now. It's a book that I absolutely love, and if you haven't read it, I really encourage you to read it. There are parts that are very difficult, but the whole thing put together is an incredible awakening to the relatedness of life, and it's called Braiding Sweetgrass. And this is a portion from the book. This is written by a woman who is an indigenous woman and also is a botanist, a professor of botany, and it's called An Offering. Most summer mornings of my childhood, I rose to consciousness through the hazy songs of vireos and thrushes, the lapping of the lake, and finally the sound of my father pumping the tank on the Coleman stove. By the time my brother and sisters and I emerged from our sleeping bags, the sun would just be topping the eastern shore, pulling mist off the lake in long white coils. The small 4-cup coffee pot of battered aluminum, blackened with the smoke of many fires, would already be thumping. I can picture my father in his red-checked wool shirt, standing atop the rocks above the lake. When he lifts the coffee pot from the stove, the morning bustle stops. We know without being told that it's time to pay attention. He stands at the edge of the camp with the coffee pot in his hands, holding the top in place with a folded pot holder. He pours coffee on the ground in a thick brown stream. The sunlight catches the flow, striping it amber and brown and black as it falls to the earth and steams in the cool morning air. With his face to the morning sun, he pours and speaks into the stillness. Here's to the gods of Tahawas. The stream runs down over smooth granite to merge with the lake, as clear and brown as the coffee. I watch it trickle, picking up bits of pale lichen and soaking a tiny clump of moss as it follows a crack to the water's edge. I'm pretty sure that no other family I knew began their day like this, but I never questioned the source of those words, and my father never explained. Let's see. Let me find this other part because it's so beautiful. Here we go. Ceremony brought quiescence back to life, opened my mind and heart to what I knew but had forgotten. The words and the coffee called us to remember that these woods and lakes were a gift. Ceremonies large and small have the power to focus attention to a way of living awake in the world. And so prayer is a ceremony that happens on the inside for those who are awake in it. And in our tradition, in the science of mind philosophy, it might be easy to think, because if you've encountered how to do prayer in the affirmative fashion we do it, it might be easy to think of it as a recipe. Like first you do step 1, recognition of the indwelling God. Step 2, your unification, your part in that wholeness. Step 3, the acceptance of what you're claiming. Step 4, giving thanks. And step 5, releasing the prayer to the infinite. And it is a formula. It's a recipe for prayer. And as you learn that recipe, what begins to happen is it begins to become your own. Just like my great-grandmother, who supported her family by making bread, started with a recipe. She started with do step 1, then step 2, and on and on. But as days and weeks and months and years wore on, and she made loaves and loaves and loaves of bread, the recipe, not lost, but internalized in such a way that she could make it her own. She could make it come alive through the yeast and the flour and the salt. She could bring to life the recipe in a way that you could taste. And in a like manner, you and I have the opportunity to bring prayer alive in us, to take it out of this rote, formulaic way that we learned as we were young or in our science mind classes, and to take it into the heart of who we are and make it come alive in us by understanding what it's pointing to. So what is it pointing to? What is prayer pointing to in us? Well, it's pointing to the practice of relatedness every time, all the time. Relatedness to the indwelling spirit, the ex-dwelling spirit, is that a word? The presence of the divine in all things, but also within, the presence within, related in that way, we begin to see that we're connected in a web of support and relationship that goes far beyond our human capacity to even understand. For us, prayer is the vehicle that allows us to know that connection at a depth level, and to allow that connection to inform how we move in the world. So it's not just a thing we say, it's a way we live, it's a way we practice. And what does it mean to practice prayer? What does it mean to practice anything? Well, first and foremost, it means that right at first, we're not going to get it right particularly. You know, I can remember being 5 years old with little tiny fingers, and my mother insisting on having me do piano lessons. And my fingers would not work that way. And I would come home and my mother would say, you need to practice. And I would say, okay, but not do it. And then I'd go back to the piano teacher the next week and she'd say, okay, play this piece that you've practiced. And I'd play and she'd say, you didn't practice. And I'd say, no, I didn't. So eventually piano lessons stopped. When we practice relationship, when we practice the relational capacity that is invoked through prayer, it takes practice. And so this is what happens when we're not good at it. And sometimes even when we are. You're in line at Costco. You're all masked up. You're 6 feet apart. Your basket is full. So is everybody else's. And someone cuts in front of you as if you didn't even exist and takes the space that you've created because you're being a good citizen and shoves in front with their full cart and doesn't say a word, doesn't look back at you, doesn't do anything. And this is where the practice arises. Because what a lot of us would do is default to a basic response that is not a response that identifies relationship, but rather identifies in other ways that are negative. After practicing prayer and having it be alive in us and understanding the relationship that we have with all life, we look at that person and instead of being angry or feeling like we need to return rudeness for rudeness, we feel at one level pity, which isn't the best emotion, but it's better than anger. Or when we're really practicing the art of relationship through prayer, we practice compassion. What would make a person react in that way? What would cause a person to take cuts and cut off another sacred human? Where would that come from? And what you and I know is where it would come from was a total forgetfulness of the interconnectedness of all life. That there's a being that is completely turtled into themselves and their need and their wants and their desires and is not able to open to be awake in the world of connection and relationship. So the practice of relating in prayer is critical to our ability to be actually at peace in the world. And if you look at this globally, you begin to see that how important it is that you and I do this practice and that we get quite good at it. It doesn't mean we won't fail from time to time, but that we get quite good at the practice of prayer, the living understanding of our connection to the divine in all things. Because if enough of us live from this alive, awakened state of interconnection and relatedness, a lot of things begin to change. A lot of things that came from being very isolated and turtled in, and it's all mine, and it's for me, and I need it, and I want it, mine, 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 mine. That kind of consciousness has created a lot of the suffering in the world that we're seeing right now. And to alter that, it takes quite a few people being awake to the relationship that we have with everyone, including those turtled in people. It's an amazing thing. And I was listening to Michael Meade the other night. He was giving a teaching, and he was talking about what the ancient ones knew compared to modern day. And one of the things he said, the ancients believed and understood that we were not empty, that we were full of the active presence of life, and that we all carried it, and that we all were walking around with it. And we all had that energy in us, and it would arise and show up in the world when it was needed in different ways. And he used the example of a baby that was in a carrier on a street corner, and there was no one around that baby. It was all alone in the carrier, crying its head off. And he said, the energy of mothering, the energy of nurturing and protecting would rise up in anyone, and it didn't matter what age they were, a child, an old man, a young woman, a businessman. It didn't matter. When they realized there was no one to nurture and protect that child, they would immediately respond. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. And so the one last story I brought you is from today's lesson in the Book of Awakening. I'm sure many of you have read this more than once. And the Book of Awakening is written by the poet Mark Nepo, and it's an awareness thing for each day. And so this happens to be about the stones of Chimayo. I don't know if you're familiar with Chimayo. It is a chapel in New Mexico that pilgrims come every year in Easter week, some of them walking from Albuquerque all the way to Chimayo, which is a long, long journey. And Chimayo is a place of deep sacred healing. It's believed that the dirt in that chapel is blessed and will heal physical ailments of all sorts. And so if you go to Chimayo and you visit that chapel, you walk into the main part of it, and it's this fairly, rustic New Mexico town Catholic church. But then you go to the left, and in this little room, there is a circle, and in the circle is the dirt that is said to heal. And you're allowed to scoop up a little of the dirt and take it with you. And as you walk out, you don't walk back through the church. You walk out through a hallway lined with wheelchairs and crutches and medicine bottles and anything and everything that people have been healed from. So this story is about that place, that area. On the way to Chimayo, a woman saw two Spanish farmers repositioning stones in a riverbed to redirect the flow. She felt immediately compelled to help. That's that calling of that alive energy in us. She had the feeling that this had been done for centuries. Their mothers and fathers, their grandmothers and grandfathers, each in their own time and way, picking up the same stones pushed about by storm or drought and putting them back so the water can continue. It seems this is the never-ending work of relationship, each of us in our own time and way, moving the stones between us, repositioning the heavy things that get in the way so the life of feeling can continue. The weather of simply living jams things up. And we, like every generation before us, must roll up our pants and sleeves, step into the river, and unclog that flow. Of course, we need to ask, what are the stones pushed about between us? What are the heavy things that keep getting in the way? No doubt they are infinite and also particular, but often they are made of habits of not. They are made of habits of not seeing, not hearing, not feeling, not being present, not risking the truth, not risking the heart's need to live out in the open. That we close off, jam up, spill over, and dry up are all part of being human in the gravity of time. That we feel compelled to stop and help even strangers move the heavy thing out of the way is an impulse known in human circles as love. The practice of prayer, the recipe is easily found. It's probably on our website if you look. But the deep practicing of prayer is a spiritual way of living and allowing the connection that we have to become fully awakened in us, fully alive in us, connecting us to everything. The visible and the invisible, as Parker says, the human and the non-human. And in that chain of connection is our salvation. Please join me in this prayer. I am grateful and acknowledge my deep connection to the infinite mystery of the divine. I know that this mystery lives in me and moves through me in the energies of nurturing, protecting, love, and in so many other ways. And my heart and my mind are awakened by the power of prayer in me to stay awake in the world, to allow myself the full view of my interconnectedness with all of life. I know that as I awaken and stay awake in that understanding, the suffering of the world will also be experienced. And I am ready with the power of the divine love to meet that suffering with great compassion, knowing what to do and what not to do in every situation. I'm grateful for this stance, for it allows me to see all of the world in all of its beauty and suffering as the manifest universe of the divine, and I a part of it, a place of love in it. And so I'm grateful for that, and I allow myself to stay awake, to not go back to sleep, to practice awakening to relationship, to the relation of interconnectedness that is the truth. And so it is. I am going to send you over to a friend of mine. This is practitioner and Rabbi Kalish Leviel. And Kalish is teaching a class I've been talking to you about, but I wanted her to come and describe it because this is your last week to sign up for it. Take it away, Kalish.
Thank you, Andrea. You mentioned earlier about having the courage to live your dreams. And that's what this course is about. It's called Infinite Possibilities, the art of living your dreams. And I'm actually dedicating this class to seeing how many miracles we can create in the next 6 weeks. And so I invite you to sign up. It's Saturday mornings from 11 to 12:30. And like Andrea said, it starts this coming Saturday, goes for 6 weeks. And we'll be looking at your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, what you're doing. We'll be supported by each other and by videos. And I think it'll be a fun class. So make note of the miracles you want and we'll create them. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalish. I hope you'll sign up for that class. It's on Saturdays, and it goes from 11 to 12:30. We have a couple of other things you might want to be involved in. We have a membership meeting today. It's something that it's the first time we've done it on Zoom. We usually do it in person. It's a requirement if you wanted to become a member of the Center for Spiritual Living in Bellingham, but it's not a requirement to become a member to take the class. It starts today at noon via Zoom, and if you need the Zoom link, please contact the center office by email, and they'll send you out that link so that you can be a part of the class. It's a simple, basic going over of what our community is about and the larger community that we are related to and how we run things and who we are and what we believe. So it's a nice class. It'll be about an hour at the most. So we'd love you to be a part of it. We also have this coming Friday, our next in the series called Creativity as a Spiritual Practice. And this is happening at 6 o'clock this coming Friday via Zoom. And this month, we've invited one of my favorite sculptors. Actually, she's the only sculptor I know personally, and her name is Ruth Musler. And Ruth is going to be sharing about connecting with stone, sculpting healing transmissions, and listening to flow, which is her word for the divine spirit. And so you don't have to be a sculptor to be a part of this discussion. Actually, why we're doing this is for those of us who have been in the pandemic and maybe have had difficulty allowing our creative process to unfold, we're hoping that this series will awaken and enliven the creative spirit in us in whatever way we're drawn, even if we're not officially an artist. So you're welcome to come and listen and be a part of the discussion this Friday at 6. And every first Sunday of the month, what we're doing now is we have a Zoom discussion after the Sunday service at noon. And it's a discussion that's led by our practitioners and board members. And it's a discussion of what the service, what I talked about in the talk, and what you're thinking about it, and things that you found intriguing or ideas you want to to discuss with other people. It's a real opportunity. It's via Zoom, and all of these you can get by contacting the office. And then we're starting a book study. It's not starting until the end of March, but we wanted to tell you about it now because this book study is sponsored by our group of people called the Earth Stewards here in the center. And one of the Earth Stewards, Diane Sue, and also our Earth Steward practitioner, Joanne Allison, are going to be facilitating this book study. The book is why we're telling you about this now. The book right now is back ordered. It is a hardback, so it's an expensive book, and it's called All We Can Save. And what's lovely is if you would like to be a part of this book study, there are going to be a few loaner copies, but also we've organized with our local bookstore, Village Books, because we're a book club, they're going to give us a 15% discount on the book. So what's excellent is if you want to be a part of this book study, you can contact Village Books and put that book on order so that they know that there's copies wanted, and they'll order as many as possible and bring them in from the new download of the shipment of the book. So the class actually starts on March 31st, but you need to register no later than the 17th to be a part of this book study, and it is 6 weeks long. It's a wonderful opportunity to look at the solutions that are coming through all of us for climate change and the solutions that will help us not only survive but thrive. So it's a great opportunity. Don't forget also that we have all these wonderful things happening during the week that we would love you to be a part of. Morning prayers at 7, evening gratitudes at 8:45 p.m., midweek meditation. We'd love you to be a part of it. Just contact the office and you'll be given the Zoom links for all of that. I want to thank you especially for your donations to the center. It means the world to us. We recently just put in a $20,000 special air filtration system, thanks to your generous donations. And we are looking to the near future, not so far away, to be able to start inviting small groups to come and attend. So thank you for donating. It's helping us get ready to start. Right now, I want to turn you back over to our wonderful poet and artist, Lisa Ferraro, to send us out on a song.
Thank you, Dr. Andrea. What a fantastic message, as always. It's always a treat and a privilege to get to serve with you. And just a really funny thing, this morning, I changed this at the last minute. I had no idea we were going to have all of these poems. But again, I wrote a song inspired by the poetry of Dr. Maya Angelou. And for no reason, I scratched this down, but obviously it was for this reason, because there is that interconnectedness. So this is a song called Nothing Can Dim This Light That Shines From Within. And taking it out into the world. You can sing it with us. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Light that shines from within. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Light that shines from within. One more time. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Nothing can dim this light that shines from within. Light that shines from within. Light that shines from within. Light that shines from within.